Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode one of our podcast, Timeless Talks with Teja. Our honorable guest, Mr. Shailendra Gulhati, is a renowned Shaivist author and an online mystic coach. He lives in Jammu Valley and on daily basis changes many people's lives for the betterment. We'll get to know him more while interviewing. Please welcome Mr. Shailendra Gulhati. Welcome to our podcast, sir.
Hello, Priya. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Thank you, sir. Sir, all of your books are related to Lord Shiva. There are many gods and goddesses in our Hinduism. Why are you attracted to Lord Shiva, sir?
That's a very good beginning question. I have been asked this sometimes before, but I will elucidate it so that your viewers can know my viewpoint. So, as you know, in Hinduism, we are spoilt for choice. We have so many gods, right? We have Vishnuji, Brahmaji, Shivji, Ma, Hanuman, Ganesh, Kartikji, so many. And when we choose a god to pray to or to worship to, we call him or her our Ishta. So we respect all gods, but who is our Ishta? Who have we taken to be our personal god? And the scriptures say that we are allowed to choose our Ishta. Nowadays, it may be happening that you have the same Ishta as your family or your family where you're married into, but actually, you are supposed to choose your Ishta. And then the scriptures further tell us that you must choose the Ishta with whom you resonate with. So, because then your journey to your own divinity will become faster, just like in the physics lab, we have something called tuning forks, and we tune them. And if they are of the same frequency, then there's a very nice, loud, resonant sound that emanates. So when we are supposed to choose the Ishta with whom we feel that we can resonate, in other words, who's pretty much acceptable to us, that we could be like him or he could be one of us, there I find Shiva very relatable to myself, to many others. He's casual, he's not very formal, he explains things in a very simple way. He's a one woman man. He's a strong, tough guy. He's the king of the mountains where he lives with his ganas, and he wears his hair long. I'm wearing mine short, but the expression of wearing the hair long, which means that he's very friendly and he's very casual. And then I like the other things. He's a lord of the jungle. He's Pashupatinath. He's happy with all the other creatures. He finds an equilibrium. So, for all these things, I felt that I can easily relate to Shiva. And also in his personal traits, there are so many, we can't count them. We will try. One of the traits is that Shivji gets angry, and rather than finding this something ungodly, I feel, well, that's more relatable. No matter what we say, we do get angry, although anger is not being said to be, I'm not saying that we should remain angry because Shivji is angry, but we feel that a god who gets angry or who's famous for being angry is the one who can show us how not to be angry. So, for all these reasons, I have chosen Shiva.
Thank you, sir. Usually, most people get into spirituality when they reach lowest point in their lives. When did you get into the spirituality, sir?
Uh, it is true that we find time for God when we ourselves are feeling helpless. But there is a very famous couplet by Sant Kabir: दुख में सुमरन सब करें, सुख में करे ना कोई, जो सुख में सुमरन करें तो दुख काहे को होए. Everybody looks to God when they are sad or when they are low. Very few look for God when they are happy or on a high. If we were to look for God or be with God when we are happy and in good times, why would the bad times even come? Somehow this has been natural with me, and I have been fond of God since I was born. My mother used to say that he was fond of God since he was born. And then I was very lucky to have that mother who was a very pious lady. My grandmother was a very pious lady, though I came from a business family, and my grandfather was a very strong character. But I think I went more to the ladies, and I was fond of God right from the beginning. So I did not choose God when I had a low or a sad thing. He's always been there. But I have changed many favorites. When I was a kid, I used to like Krishan ji because wo makhan chor the, and he would steal butter, and I used to copy him. Then when I grew into a teenager, I liked Hanuman ji, the bodybuilder, and then Ram ji. And eventually, sometime after I got married, it was Shiva who came into my life, and I've stayed with that uh, since then.
You felt any conflict in between choosing the god, sir? Because when you were a kid, you used to like Krishna. Now Shiva. Okay, I have to do puja to this god. Like that. When do you feel like that anyway?
Look, I already said I respect all the gods. I love them for what they stand for. But since I resonate with Shiva more, my writings and my teachings are mostly about him. Sometimes they are interspersed with texts from other gods, like from the Bhagavad Gita and from the Ramayana, from Hanumanji. So it's all there. So it's like saying that we are in a great big gymnasium where all the gods are there. But my particular focus, my training is with Lord Shiva.
Usually, sir, when you are doing meditation or spirituality, there is need for guru. Please tell us the importance of guru, sir.
Uh, the guru is very important, and the guru always shows up. The guru is important because in this long chain of events, from when God first made creation, and then man found out nature, and then man found out about himself, and then man found out about how to ascend, how to transcend. Uh, there was always someone who was there before another, and someone who's there before us is called the preceptor. So, someone who has had the spiritual journey before us and is a realized person, a man or a woman, and that person can definitely help us on our own journey. It's just like when we try to learn how to drive a car. We go to an expert in driving school, and they teach us. They put the learner badge and they say, all right. Sometimes it may be that we become better than the original driver. In any case, the uh, teacher is very happy if we go a step ahead. So a guru is required to help us see our path clearly, but we have to walk the path. And Hinduism has very beautiful examples of this. Even Sri Ram and Sri Krishna needed gurus. Sandipani was the guru of Krishnji, and Rishi Vashisht, the greatest Rishi, was the guru of Ramchandraji. So a guru is very important because he's been there before you. And so he's like a trekking guide, like a Sherpa who can show you this is the path. But you have to walk. Guru cannot walk the path for you. You have to walk. He will help you. So he's like the coach. You are a football player, and he will teach you the kicks and the dodges and everything, but you will have to play the match.
Nice comparison, sir. Sir, intuition works very well one meditate regularly. Please share us your experience in regards to intuition, sir.
First of all, what is intuition, or what are intuitive faculties, or what are riddhis and siddhis as we call them? Anything that we do not know normally with our five senses, but which is efficacious, which has a kind of science to it, or which is always correct, we tend to call intuition, right? Sixth sense and things like that. So it is true that when we do dhyana or even chintan, meditation, or even introspection, when we immerse ourselves in sacred texts, try to be attentive, and we immerse ourselves in bhajans and satsang, after a while, it is true that our intuitive sense becomes very sharpened. That is actually a milestone. It's a journey where we are trying to go to God, and He gives some milestones in the middle. Yes, you are 90 kilometers away, now you're 80 kilometers away. And intuitive senses come to you, and they can be in any form. They can be in the form of your phone rings, and without seeing the caller ID, you know whose phone it is. You are going for a movie, and you know what's going to happen in the next scene. And these are the smaller things which we notice in day-to-day life, and they happen when you progress more. There are higher senses which devolve on you, and good aspirants or going to be sages do not use those intuitions too much, because they can be misused also, right? There is a stage which comes where one can almost read the other person's thoughts, but that would not be fair, right? You are not like a mobile phone whose number I have to guess. So intuitions happen. They are good. They are like milestones. We know, well, something is happening with us which was not happening earlier. We can enjoy them, but not overuse them, or definitely not misuse them. So yes, all sorts of intuitive powers do devolve on us. We do start becoming like Avengers, and we know the difference. But then we don't go to the lottery and say, put this number. We don't do all that, right? We means anybody who's sincere will come to this.
Do you believe in karma? If so, how does one's karma work, sir?
Definitely, karma, I believe in. And karma is basically, in a way, what you sow, so shall you reap. Your action will have it's scientific, like Newton, every action will have an equal and opposite reaction, and it will catch up with you and all that. Unfortunately, most of us use the word karma and karma theory for, negative connotation. You have done bad karma, it will catch up with you. And this is just the state of affairs that we are in, right? It may be true that many of us are doing negative karma, even though we are knowing that this is not the right thing to do, because we become too worldly. I am a Shaivite, so I'm not against the world. Shaivites say the world is as true as Shiva, so you must enjoy every object, but don't get overly, into it. So when people have become overly into material gain, so-called bad karma comes up, and then it catches up with you. It is a definite law. Sooner or later, it does happen to you, what you've been doing to others. But the yogis know a state which is beyond karma. For example, for God, ईश्वर के लिए हम ये नहीं बोलते कि ईश्वर कर्म करते हैं, वो क्रिया करते हैं. It's also an action, but it doesn't have any to and fro effects and things like that. This is very clearly elucidated in the Bhagavad Gita. And basically, in simple words, it would mean when we align our will, our ichha, our desire to that with God's, which we know. We all know what God desires. God desires happiness, goodness for everybody, as much as can be. And if we align our will to that, then there will not be a chance that we'll be doing bad karma. So why worry about it, right? So we are then entering this stage of doing God's will. So then we do not have to worry about karma. And God's will also here, I must clarify, it's not, just to spread religions and things like that. Again, it is just to enjoy this life and let someone else enjoy this life.
If someone does bad karma and after that he or she came to realize, yes, this is mistake I have done, and they want to rectify it, will it reduce some of the bad karma?
Definitely. Definitely. If we are in a school and there is a maths test and we have not studied and we get 3 on 10, and then we request the teacher, please give us another chance. And she says, okay, next week I will take your test again. And this time we study, we are likely to get 7 or 8 on 10. Definitely. God is kind. God is kind. He gives a second chance, gives a third chance, gives many chances. And we all know that also. We know God is giving many chances, but it should be our endeavor to, do things which please him or please her, Durga Mata, right from the beginning.
How to control your emotions when everything you hold dear is falling apart?
This is a difficult thing, easier said than done. When things are falling apart, I take it, let's say your business is falling apart, or your love life is falling apart, or your parent is ill. It's not very easy to control our emotions. And we have again the prime example in Shiva. When Sati died, he did not control his emotions at all. He was highly emotional. But after that, between Sati and Parvati, most of us do not know what Shivji did. We know that he left Kailash and he went somewhere else in the mountains. But what did he do? Well, he meditated and intensified his own learning. And therefore, in time, some say 1,000 years, 2,000 years, he became far more resolute than before. And he probably understood everything, why Sati died, and what is the place for emotion, how human beings feel. And next time when Parvati came, when Sati came as Parvati, he was full Mahadev, and he could control emotions very well then. So I would say, when we are emotional, or when we are in a situation which is emotional, somehow we have to try and get rooted again in our God consciousness. It's not easy. It's a challenge. It's a test. The driving has been taught to you on a straight road, but now it's becoming very curvy. It's a test. We should go back to our Godhead.
There will be many ups and downs in this journey also, sir.
Yes, that's the Leela. Many ups and downs.
Sir, is it okay to give up one's principles to have a peaceful life?
Giving up one's principles to have a peaceful life. What do you think? Tell me that first. Let's interview you. What do you think? Would you give up your principles to have a peaceful life?
No, sir.
Second question, will you have a peaceful life if you give up your principles?
No.
Difficult. So I don't think that one can have a very peaceful life if one gives up the principles. But we are talking black and white. If we have to explore shades of gray, as they say, well, we don't have to give up our principles. But if some situation demands, and with a sagacious and sane mind, we realize that I have to, take some kind of a turn, and I will be back because I have to, get on top of this situation also, and I have to do it in a way which I have not normally been doing. I think it's okay. These kind of illustrations have happened in history. There are great warriors for the nation who have changed their identities. There is Lord Krishna, who has said all sorts of things in the Mahabharata. So generally, we should not give up on our principles. But if there is a situation which we know is for the better good of many people, and if we have to be a little elastic in our understanding, possibly it's okay. I think the litmus test here would be, am I giving up my principles for self-gain? Or am I bending them a little bit so that others can gain, right? What happens when there is a fully enlightened teacher, for example, and he has to teach by analogy to little children, right? And he has to give analogies, so he gives analogies which children understand, like chocolates and lollipops. And let us say he's teaching about Shiva. Is he giving up his principles when he's comparing things to chocolates and lollipops, or is he just betting a little bit for the better good of others, that kind of thing. So stay with your principles.
Yeah. Sir, is it okay to go against parents' wishes to reach one's own goal or wish?
Again, it depends. It depends. Uh, what is the situation, and what have your parents taught you, right? These could also be the up and down tests of your own Leela, right? So, in certain things, in most things, it's always better to do what your parents tell you to do because they are your first gurus. They have taken care of you. But once you have a mind of your own, especially a mind which is inclined towards mysticism and spirituality, that's the time when you start seeing something, maybe in your parents or uncle and aunts, or maybe some teacher, uh, where you realize that your thinking is loftier. ऐसा हो सकता है. So it's a very delicate moment in your life. So again, my answer would be, if it is something truly spiritual or for the good of all, and you can see where your parents have stopped and where you must go ahead, right? So the same thing as your principles. Here, the parents are the principles, and so you don't have to cross them out or their teaching out just to go ahead. But it depends on what it is, right? It depends on what it is. If it is your parents who have taught you your virtues and your principles, as they must have, and then you come to a situation where you realize your solution is more virtuous than theirs, then you will have to do so. Otherwise, mankind will not make any progress, right? We will stop at our parents only. We have to go ahead, make them proud, do good things, and not at the expense of um, loftier principles. If we have something loftier to show them, we should.
Sir, how to overcome a fickle mind?
Same question almost. Mind is like a monkey, it always jumps from one branch to another. Uh, all of us are fickle minded. And again, when you are busy doing something, you're normally not fickle minded. So if you go to the gym and there's a personal trainer there, he won't let you be fickle, right? So, and if you are disciplined enough one day and he tells you go home and for next 45 minutes you do this, you will again be trained enough not to be fickle minded. So same thing, abhyasa. We have to train ourselves not to be fickle, right?
When we have accumulated a certain level of discipline in our life, we can overcome the fickle mind.
Yes, discipline. I would like to call it abhyasa, training, repeating the pattern so that the grooves come clear to us and we become disciplined as a way of life.
Sir, is it okay to be honest all the time?
Again, it's very good to be honest. Honesty is a very good thing, and it would be wonderful if more and more of us are more and more honest. But again, uh, there can be diverse situations always. See, you're asking very typical generic questions, and I am trying to point out that largely it's okay, but there can be certain exceptions to the rule, right? So let's say you are two senior girls in a school, and there is a fresher, and let's say she's not very fashionable, or she's wearing her pigtails in a way which is outdated and everything, and your friend asks you, to remark on those pigtails at her face, right? And they are looking funny to you as well, right? So would you like to be honest about it, or would you like to be a little more compassionate, kinder about it? Would you like to tell a little fib? No, 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 they are looking nice. In fact, even I used to do that. So those are the exceptions to the rule. It's always good to be honest, unless there is something which doesn't ask you to be dishonest, but again, a little curve. Again, Krishan ji has taught these things to Arjun, right? So largely, yes, we should always be honest. And unless, it's too cruel to be honest in a smaller thing, right? If there is somebody who's making serious mistakes in the class or later in life, you have to be honest with them. But if there's a little child and you know that with a little bit of a roundabout truth, let's not even call it a fib, a roundabout truth, if we tell them and that will encourage them, yeah, then we can do that. But largely, yes, one must be very honest.
If one is honest throughout his or her entire life and they accumulate pride about it, it is not correct, right?
Yes, you're yourself pointing out
But
everything when it is taken to an extreme can become a fault. It can become a fault.
how to overcome that pride, sir? I am correct. Whatever I do, it is correct. If he feeling himself or herself that they are correct all the times, how to overcome that personality?
Check yourself, allow others to check you. Now, let's talk about Shivji. He's Mahadev, right? And he has so many ganas. He's the lord of all of them. He's the beloved king. He's their god. But Shivji is a consensus chief, right? He usually will not come and declare something onto his ganas. We will do this and we will do this. He will usually consult at least one or two, like Nandi ji, he will consult. He will consult Bringi ji. He will definitely consult Parvati Ma. When Ganesh and Kartik are old enough, he will consult them. Saptrishis he can consult, so on and so forth. So we need to have checks on ourselves for this with a trusted team. And if you are the leader and your team is all your followers, even amongst them, you know who is cut to be another leader. So have yourself checked. It's like asking, do doctors take those medical tests? Of course they do. They have to.
Yeah.
So have yourself checked.
Yes, thank you, sir. Sir, do you believe in afterlife and rebirth?
Yes, I believe in afterlife and rebirth. And though there are no very hardcore proofs of this, the proofs of this are not as physical as we would want them to be. They are subtle and they are in the realm of conscious memory. There are a lot of people who have believed in this. I will say only one name, Swami Vivekananda, who for me is the doyen of modern Hinduism and the keeper of the ancient secrets. He was also asked this, and he said, yes, definitely I believe in reincarnation. And he quoted many examples. He said, if in a farm there are ducklings, the children of a duck, and there are little chickens, which are the children of a hen, and if one baby each is picked up and put into a pond, the duckling will start swimming on the very first go, right? And of course, we know probably this is DNA and the way we are wired. But Swamiji pointed out that the sheer pleasure of the duckling, not only the art of swimming, which is DNA, fine, evolution, fine, but the sheer pleasure that the duckling will have when you show it the water, this is what I call conscious memory, right? So when we talk of reincarnation, it's not like if you ask me, do you believe in reincarnation? I say yes. Do you remember who you were in a past life? I say no. Then how do you believe? Because so many lessons in life, especially the spiritual ones, when I learn them for the first time, there is always a part of me which says, this seems to be the first time, but I have known this. So there's a conscious memory, right? And I go as far as to teach that what is immortality? Since you asked about reincarnation, you presume that we die and then we are incarnated again. Let's take the other side of the coin, immortality. We don't die. And to explain that, I say, well, even if it was possible to live in this body for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, a million years, it may not be such a good plan. So immortality to me would be an unbroken memory of your consciousness, right? So whatever you have learned, especially spiritually, it's not that you're born saying those mantras, but very soon, by the age of 13, 14, 15, you get back all of that. That's why we have spiritual prodigies like Adi Shankara and Vivekanand, right? And of course, Mahadev, if he was ever to take an avatar, he would be a Janma Siddha. And it would not be about the body as much as it would be about the consciousness and the memory of that consciousness, of all our learning and experience engraved. So I call that immortality. So in that light, if we see again reincarnation, um, so let's say we have a class of 100 children, boys and girls, studying Swami Vivekananda himself. And one boy or one girl is outstanding. I mean, every time they ask, they know everything about Vivekananda, and they understand the text. And then the teacher would definitely say, as will the rest of the class, that that person there, that Priya Reddy, oh, she has the spirit of Vivekananda. She's like Vivekananda reborn. So aisa hota hai, we see all this, and there's no scientific explanation for this. How one person can be so much in their study like another person who lived 100 years ago, right? So I believe in reincarnation, and to me, the whole story of Ma Sati leaving Shivji and then coming back as Ma Parvati is the greatest uh, episode of reincarnation.
Thank you for sharing it, sir. Sir, what is your take on astrology? Nowadays, many people wants to know what is their jatakam and all this palmistry, numerology, many things.
You see, man has been around for a very long time. In the scientific world, discovering many things like fire, the wheel, and so on. Then he shifts his focus to other things which are more interesting. You don't only invent things to grow more food and make houses, you like to see art and song and dance and painting. So these astrological sciences are kind of arts. Right? Show me your hand and I will tell you your destiny. How exciting, how artistic, I mean, how magical. Or tell me your birth date and I will make a chart and I will be able to do this, and then numerology and all these. So these are sciences, I said, which are like art, and there is a lot of science which backs them up. For example, palmistry is, like, let us say you have a racehorse. There is a person who has a racehorse and he has a mountain mule. And both the racehorse and a mountain mule, they give birth to another horse and another mule. And which of the younger horses do you think the owner will put into a race? He will put the racehorse's child into a race, right? Because it is more likely than not that the racehorse's child will win a race rather than the mule. Based on this, they start seeing, let's say, hands, right? And they say, if the line is like this, and this fellow married 3 times, and another guy, his line was also like this, he also married 3 times. And they see 1,000 people who have those same line and they have married 3 times. Then they try, so it's statistics, palmistry is statistics. They try and say it's fair enough to say that if the line is made like this guy will have 3 marriages. That's how palmistry works. And it's accurate. Astrology, well, similarly, they have their backing, how they work. And the problem is, the people who endeavored very hard to make these sciences, they may not be around. We are reading their texts now, number one. So we may be better than them or we may not be better than them. That's number one. Number two, they may have been very sincere, and now the modern practitioner may be sincere, or maybe he just wants to make a fast buck. You are wearing a red sari, you should wear green color suits you, and I will give you the upaya and all that. And I'm not saying this for astrology or anything. This has happened everywhere. It has happened in every field. Wherever we go, there is an ad, we call it add-on value, add-on service. Isko ek kaam aur bata do. So that's the other side of these sciences, that we somehow, if we get into them, and then if we are not in good hands, and then the person will make us very superstitious. Again, my answer therefore is halfway. The sciences by themselves are very well founded on some things. We may or may not run into a good practitioner today. If we run into a good practitioner, it will be very good, whatever they will tell us. And if we are unfortunate, we run into not a very ethical practitioner, then they will keep on moving us into that sphere. But with all these sciences, one must never forget that Supreme is still God. So if I'm told to wear such and such ring, and I'll wear it, but my supreme faith is still in God, I will still tell God, Mahadev, I have worn this ring now, this stone, please make it work. Right? So my answer is, I have a very healthy respect for these sciences. I would caution people to see how much time and effort and their mind they are going to put into this. Little bit is okay. It's also okay because by nature we are curious human beings, right? What's going to happen to me in the future and everything. Thoda bahut theek hai. But don't get overwhelmed with this. If you are into these things, it's better to be a bhakt than a supreme bhakt and get all these sciences into you.
Yes, sir. Sir, you have attended 2015 Festival of India, which was held in Thailand, and you also attended SAP meetings also. Please share your experiences, sir.
The SARC meetings were many years ago. I attended 2 of them with all the countries, like Pakistan was also there, and all the SARC countries were there. Afghanistan also joined once. Those were smaller meetings. Those were literature meetings of poetry and readings and things like that. But those were great for cultural exchange. And I think, without being biased, that I think India always was on a supreme edge, especially again when it came to our long legacy of great saints and great wisdom. And it felt good to be able to share that with everyone else. And because it was a long time back, I would not dwell on it too much. But even 2015 is now 10 years ago. That was very nice. The Festival of India is organized by Jaipur Lit Fest, which is very, very famous. Sanjay Roy, a friend of mine who's the most brilliant in doing these festivals. So their part where they go to a foreign country is called, the Festival of India in that country. And I was invited to the Festival of India in Thailand. And this was an ongoing process for a few months, but then the activity right in the end was converged onto one day. And that was the day of the writers. And so we were in an auditorium in Chulalongkorn University. And one of the princesses was the chief guest. And my particular talk was about the path of the mystic. And I had a very good anchor, and I had to explain in 20 minutes what is the path of the mystic. And the auditorium was full. And I remember telling them that, this word mystic is very confusing for some people. There are even people I have met who think mystic is a sort of a negative word, a hocus pocus or jadoo or something like that. It's not. It's a very sweet, good word. It's both an ancient word and a modern word. It sounds very modern. So mysticism is just, let's say, spirituality in a funky dress, for a nice party. And I said to them that so the question was, who is a mystic? So I gave 2 answers. I said, first, everybody is a mystic. All of us, you, me, people who are hearing this, the people who are outside the hall listening or not listening, everybody is a mystic. basically, because we are all Chaitanyam, right? But some of us are activated, right? And there I gave what I feel is the definition. And I said, mystic is one who knows that everything is interconnected, right? Cause and effect, synchronicity, God give me a sign, all these things are interconnected. And mystic is a person who has had experience of this, right? He has had an experience of the interconnectedness of beings, to a point where he now does not retract from mysticism, right? So this was the kind of talk which was going on. It was very well applauded, and the princess was very happy. And later she gave us a dinner, all the writers and their spouses. And then she made it a point to tell me again that I liked your talk, I liked your book. I had sent my first book there, The Yogi and the Snake. And she took a lot of pain to tell me that in Thailand, we have Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha. I said, okay, Your Highness. And she said, but it is Mahesha whom we call Ishvara, Parameshvara. So she told me that even in Thailand, out of our trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, we think of Lord Shiva as the supreme. So it was a very good experience for me. It was very good to meet the other authors. All of them were not talking on spirituality, but we had very eminent authors there. So it was very nice. There was Vikas Swaroop, who has written The Slumdog Millionaire, a billionaire. And there was Shobha Day, who writes very racy, lovely stuff. So it was a very nice interaction to meet with everyone.
Thank you for sharing your experience, sir. Sir, which is important, sir? Being successful in life or having a peaceful life?
You see, now we define success by many different parameters, as what it may have been described earlier or defined earlier. Right now, success to most people means money and power, right? What's the car you have, how big is your house, and what branded clothes do you wear, and things like that. And there may have been a time when success was defined by something else, where success was defined by peace of mind. You're saying, what is more important, success or peace of mind, right? So there may have been a time when our elders were wise enough to know that peace of mind is success. So you have my answer there.
Yes,
whatever gives you peace of mind. And you know, when we want to be spiritual and harmonious, we should not have eyes closed to the material world. This is something I want to say in favor of the material world. So just to say that I am peaceful at home and I don't need any money, I don't need clothes, that is also rubbish, right? The Upanishads tell us, doomed are those who think only about worldly goods. But more doomed are those who do not think at all about worldly goods, who only think about other things. So we have to have a foundation. And the yogis divide our body into chakras. There are the base chakras and there are the higher chakras, this one being Agya and this being Sahasrara. And the goal is always to get to Sahasrara, the 1,000-petal lotus where God resides, and to be with God. But this does not come at the rejection or ignorance of the lower chakras. Again, it was Swami Vivekananda who said, if you want to enter my Gurukul, you want to be a monk with me, first go and get yourself a pair of shoes. Right? So success or peace of mind, whatever gives us a peace of mind, but we should be respectful towards all these people who have made an effort to build the world, right? So that's what we should be. Again, my answers are a bit of mix of everything. There was a great author called Herman Melville, and he once wrote that yea and nay, each hath his say. Yes and no, both have their say, but God keeps the middle way. He understands the because we have to respect this world. Otherwise, why would God have made it? So success to me means if we are okay in the world and we are peaceful too. Out of the two, peace of mind is more important. So let me give one direct answer at least. Peace of mind is more important. If you're successful in something and you have no peace of mind, it's not worth it.
Thank you,
Peace of
sir.
mind, yes, is more important.
Sir, spirituality is a continuous journey with no ending point. Does one feel fulfillment of attaining enlightenment at any point, or will there always be this eagerness to learn more about it?
It's like I said, it's a journey where you have milestones, but it's a journey which is endless. God is described as Ananta. He's eternal, right? So the journey can never end. But there are points in the journey where we feel fulfilled, right? So what we call self-realization, Atma Vyapti, and I teach this when I teach the Shiva Sutras in exclusive one-to-one sessions. Atma Vyapti or Atma Bodh, self-realization, enlightenment. There's a little difference between self-realization and enlightenment and Atma Bodh and Atma Vyapti, but too little for this interview. I mean, let's take it all to be one thing. And we usually take that as the realization of the self, that I have a soul, I am a soul, and a soul has the body, right? And that is supposed to be a peak of one's spiritual journey. Let's say that's the landing station. But certainly the journey doesn't end with that. It's like I have written in one of my books, if the story of life doesn't end with enlightenment, it just begins. If life was to end with enlightenment, that would be absurd. You know, you reach this point and then you'll be finished. Aisa nahi hai. Think of it like a video game. Especially boys, the Xbox and this box and that box. So they are clamoring to get one and they get it. You know, their dad gifts them one or mom gifts them one on Christmas or New Year's or Diwali or whatever, or their birthday. And after getting that video game, the fellow doesn't know how to play it. So he starts and there is this big character who beats him right in the beginning. And one day he learns how to play it, right? So that day the game has just begun actually. So in enlightenment, in this spiritual journey, enlightenment does not end the journey. So even when you know you're part of God, the journey continues, right? I will have to reduce this to a analogy which you can understand. So let us say that there is a person who is, you're really wanting to meet that person. I mean, I have to give an analogy of God, so I don't want to say a film star or let us say there is somebody very important and you want to meet that person. Let's say it's the principal of all the schools in one particular thing, the head principal. And you meet that person and you're delighted because it's wonderful meeting him. And you come out from there, immediately your thought will be, when can I meet him again? Right? When can I do it again? So it's that kind of a thing. So once you understand your connection with God, the story goes on and on. But there are milestones. So like when you are doing dhyana and you say nothing happened to me, or today you say no, something happened, I heard this or I saw this or I felt like this. So this goes on and on. It never ends. It never ends.
It's a never-ending
Thankfully,
process.
thankfully it never ends.
Thank you, sir. Sir, still there are many questions. Shall we continue those in part 2, sir?
Yes, we'll continue those in part 2, definitely. And then we can talk about some of the books that we have done and some other aspects which you feel are left out. If you have any one last question for today, I'm happy to.
Sir, please tell us about the painting behind you, sir.
Yeah, I will have to lift this. Can you see it now properly?
Yes, sir. There is Nandi and Saint is sitting before him.
Yes. So this painting has a sadhu in a cave, apparently, and a bull has entered the cave. And at the deepest level, it means that that the bull is representing power on the outside in the world, right? And the sadhu is representing power on the inside, right? And at the deepest level, what it means is actually both of them are one. It is the bull and the sadhu are actually one. The power within is the power outside. It is the consciousness, is the manifestation. And that's the beauty of manifestation, that Nandi manifests as a bull to meet Shiva from where he has manifested. Okay.
Thank you. I'm really happy interviewing you, sir,
Thank you.
because I have been reading your book since 2018.
Okay.
My character and my personality has been developed through your books. We'll discuss about your books in part 2, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. It has been a
Thank you,
pleasure
sir.
talking to you, Priya, and we will meet up within a week, 10 days, and do the part 2. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, sir.